What's your name?
Meredith.
Meredith? And you're a teacher, right?
I am.
So it's school hours. What brought you out now?
This is a neighborhood I've lived in for like 15 years. I currently live in a different part of South Minneapolis, but Powderhorn's a place that's near and dear to my heart. I got a lot of friends that live in this neighborhood, and I just wanted to make sure they were okay. So this is my prep period, and so I asked my principal if I could head out and make sure that my people were okay, and she said I could. And so I just wanted to make sure that the people that I care about are okay.
So I kind of overheard you say something about the students. How are your students handling what's going on right now?
Oh, our attendance rates have have totally decreased with our Latino students and even with some of our Somali students. Like a lot of our students are not coming to school. We just had to make new changes with what we're going to do for parent-teacher conferences because we're worried the parents won't come. Because why would you come to parent-teacher conferences if you're worried you're going to get picked up by ICE? And I just think that's criminal because, like, you should, we need to have conversations with parents about their kids to help them graduate, and I can't teach kids if they aren't here. It's like that's a whole part of my job. And so I just feel like really frustrated because we finally got kids' attendance back up since COVID, and now all this ICE rating is actually ruining the attendance rates that we finally got back up again. And so it's really making it hard to do our jobs and to teach people. And so I'm just really frustrated because, teaching people and getting people in education is supposed to be something that's a right. And it's not making it a right.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, my name is Isa Obradovich, and on Tuesday, January 13th, at around 11 in the morning, I was escorted out of my middle school art student teaching placement. I have a script that I'm going to be reading from because I want to be very careful with my words. On Tuesday, January 13th, at around 11 in the morning, I was escorted out of my middle school art student teaching placement. I was informed that the district received several complaints from concerned parents about the video I posted the day before. In the video, I spoke about turning down a sponsorship from Wayfair as they sell beds to, quote, a government contractor furnishing a federal detention center for migrants near the U.S.-Mexico border, end quote. In this video, I said, fuck ICE, and at the end of the video, I put up my middle finger while saying that I believe that ICE agents should kill. I could certainly have chosen my words better and avoided using vulgar language and gestures, but my stance remains firm. I stand on the side of humanity and will not endorse any institution who supports ICE. I have chosen to keep the video visible on my page. My values and actions are always rooted in a deep love for humanity, including love for my own community members as a first-generation child of French and Peruvian immigrants. Members of my community are actively being killed and kidnapped en masse by ICE, a rogue paramilitary force that answers to the child rapist and 34-time felon who is currently president of the United States. I stand by my message, even if my choice of verbiage could have been more tactful. For full transparency, I've posted the email I sent to the district yesterday following my termination. Thankfully, I have the privilege of not needing to student teach in order to graduate. I've chosen to not pursue another student teaching placement since I figured similar issues would arise considering the size of my audience on social media. I don't want to comprise neither my values nor those of any school district. I will graduate without licensure, which I was not planning on applying for anyways because I don't intend to teach in the United States for the foreseeable future. I have the full support of my professors, which I'm so grateful for. Since around January of last year, I have been making arrangements to move to France after I graduate in May 2026. I'm a dual citizen and have been speaking French since before I even learned to speak English. I'm going to be fine. I plan to work as an artist for at least a year before continuing on to grad school. Also, I have enough credits to have graduated last semester because I've just taken so many classes for fun because I love school and learning. I'm very lucky that my circumstances have made it so that this situation has no real material repercussions for me. Of course, I am really disappointed that I won't get to student teach. This is something that I've been working towards for the entire time that I've been studying art education as an undergraduate. I really did give it my all in the 5.5 days that I had in the classroom. I had an absolute blast, and this experience has affirmed that I do want to teach art and that this is the path for me. It's just really unfortunate that this is how the experience came to an end.
LA City Council members Hugo Soto Martinez and Nithya Raman were on hand today to help remove the signs. They say the no cruising and no U-turn signs were put up in the 1990s to prevent people in the gay community from meeting up with other gay people.
I was also surprised that these U-turn signs were still up. And at first, they seem a little, oh, okay, it's just a no U-turn sign. But when you learn the history of it and you realize that these were used to profile gay people, it's so important that we have these removed.
It's Saturday, okay? It's Saturday. And with what we're going to talk about with some seriousness, I figured we'd do our comedic relief in advance because I just can't. I can't. We cannot coexist with these people. There's no way possible. You know, if it's not a civil war, it's a secession. It's got to be something because there's no way I can exist with these people. I can't even walk down the same aisle in a grocery store. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But yet, this is what the Democrats want. This is what they're fighting for. They are fighting to uphold the entirety of a brainwashed, propagandized, MK Ultra generation. The first person, well, you know, they're not coming to school because they're afraid they might get picked up. You're a teacher. Can you do some deduction why that might be happening? Let's see. My Spanish kids and my Somali kids, their parents don't want to come to school because they'd have to bring them, but they're afraid of showing up because they might get picked up. You went to college. Go ahead and deduce why that might be. It's pretty simple. You know, 1 + 1 = 2. This guy and this guy are afraid of getting picked up by ICE. They're probably not supposed to be here. And then the middle one, I can't even explain. She wouldn't order from Wayfair because the government buys sheets from Wayfair. Let me just say, you've got way too much time on your hands. You are not qualified to be a teacher if you are taking the time to find out where the government buys sheets. I would have never thought, nor would I have ever cared to, okay, so where are the government contracts for the, you know, where they're buying sheets for the detainment centers? Oh, Wayfair, you're done. But then you guys might say, well, Barry, you know, you guys Target because they were selling, you know, stuff for kids to hang their junk in and tuck and all that kind of stuff, which they don't want me to say here. You can not patronize any business you want. That's fine. The Target thing was all over the news. I don't even know where you would look to find out where the government buys sheets. These people are crazy. Then the last one, they don't want to change in a U-turn sign because it was targeting people who actually cruise. I guess what I'm trying to say before we actually start the show is we're in cuckoo land. With what we're seeing in Minnesota, and you'll see on my thumbnail or lower thirds here, this is it. I didn't know we would meet this point in the road so early in 2026. But at this point, make no doubt about it, we're at the inflection point where the Democrats have decided this is it. This is their Waterloo. They are pushing all their chips in. There's nothing left in 2026 that they're going to fight. We might as well get it out of the way right now. Which means you should probably get it out of the way right now and realize we are in a civil war. I realized with a little bit of penchant thought why it is YouTube has this rule of not showing what's really happening out there. Oh, we can't show that kind of stuff because they don't want you to know. That allows the Democrats to go on stage and lie. They're just peaceful protests. Oh, these people are just exercising their First Amendment rights. And if you haven't seen it, you don't know it's a lie. And so what's the easiest way to perpetuate the lie is to not allow people to show it. And that's what X did before when it was called Twitter. That's what YouTube did for a long time. They just simply don't let you show it. And if you don't show it, then they don't know it. But understand there are things happening in Minneapolis right now that are the bad guys are now carrying guns. Put it that way. That's where we are. The bad guys are now showing up with weapons against ICE. Now, nobody's, from what I understand, has fired a shot yet, but they most assuredly are bringing weapons and brandishing them. This isn't going to end well. This is not going to end well. And the worst part about it, I believe the Democrats know it's not going to end well, and they're sacrificing these idiots. One kid lost his eye. The woman who got shot because she tried to run somebody over. None of this needs to happen. Tim Walz, and I'm pointing to his picture, Tim Walz and Jacob Frey could walk out today and say it's over. Guys, just go home. We're going to work it out with the government. But their silence speaks volume. But it's not really silent. We're going to show you what they said. But by not telling the protesters to do that, they want this. They want the escalation. They think it benefits them by getting into a fight with Trump. Even if people lose lives, eyes, etc. Right now, if I was a lawyer, I'd be sitting there going, that guy needs to sue not the ICE agents, but instead the government and the people in Minnesota. Why are you encouraging protests? What exactly is a protest? Every single Democrat says we need to encourage protests. You need to take to the streets. What exactly is a protest? Have you looked up the First Amendment? Well, we know criminal protests, you can't do the things that they're doing. You can't block roads. You can't throw stuff. Everything that they admonish, they encourage. And it's not going to stop. So I'm gonna show you some things regarding Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, and then we're gonna carry some news. We got a whole lot of stuff to cover in a short period of time because it's playoff Saturday in the NFL. I want to see who wins tonight. No spoilers. I have it recording, so just don't go in the chat and start talking like that stuff. Let's see, what am I gonna do? Oh yeah, before we start the show, here's our sponsor tonight.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future. From solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so we're into the show now. Hey, I hope you guys have had a fantastic Saturday. Myself, I drove down to the property that we're putting on the market. We're just about ready, just about this much left to do. Met Beth and met one of our contractors down there, photographers coming next week, and we should be putting that on the market. And like I've showed you a lot about silver and gold, and we've talked about stocks and different things, I'm going to be doing a case study that'll show you where we did, how we got the property, how we financed it, what we put into the renovations, and then hopefully we got a big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow here. We're hoping, as things here in the market are doing very well. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to roll that into the next property and continue it on. So it's not ready. I mean, we've been documenting everything, at least, and we've got a big board of information. Beth and Ashley have done fantastic. This is the first time either one of them have worked on a property turn in this regard, and understanding how to manage contractors and schedules and things of that nature. And double hats off to both of them. They've taken to it. So now I know we have a really solid team going into the next deal. They can just go ahead and replicate everything that they've learned with this first one and put it into the second one. All the contacts, who to call, when, what to do, turn on the electricity, turn on the water, all these different things. So I am so psyched for 2026 for me and our team on a real estate basis. So I just want to say thank you to both of them live right now, so you guys all know two people who really haven't been involved in this kind of business, and how great they're doing in communicating and coordinating and managing the whole project, which frees me up so I can bring you some crazy stuff like we're talking to you about tonight. Before we get into the meat of the show, as always, let's go ahead and cover what President Trump has been talking about today. Now, interesting with what President Trump has been talking about today. I'll tell you what's interesting to me. I want you to see what he's been posting, and I want your opinion as to why do you think he's posting it? Because I have an idea that I'd like to share with you. All right, so the first one he put up, it says, everyone is talking about the auto pen. What was done is totally illegal, and anything signed that way is of no quote. He quoted this line, which means, I don't know if it was his quote, but he quoted, no further force or effect. So I'm not sure why he quoted that, or whose quote it is. Is it from the court directly? Does he have some sort of inside advice as to, hey, they're no longer full in force? I know he declared no further force, but we shall see. The person who, quote, worked the auto pen, another quotation, had no idea whether or not Biden approved of what he was doing. So let me stop there. I want to stop there because there are so many people, so many panicans, so many black pillars, so many whiners Many, not many, but some who are even in this chat over the last couple of months. What do you see here? I'm seeing quotations, and in those quotations, it almost comes across to me, and I don't have any inside knowledge, that Pam Bondi and team, Todd Blanche and others, have already been working on this AutoPen stuff. The President of the United States is posting this, and he's quoting something. Could it be testimony in a grand jury? I don't know. But it goes, the person who worked the AutoPen. That sentence there alludes to the fact that he knows who the person who worked the AutoPen is. Because how could you say the person who worked it had no idea whether or not Biden approved of what he was doing? So in that one sentence, the person has been concluded to be a he. The person who worked the AutoPen had no idea whether Biden approved of what he was doing. You can take it out if you're an English teacher. The person who worked the AutoPen did not know anything, didn't think Biden knew what he was doing, meaning the person working the AutoPen. I'm not digging deep in here. I'm not making any suppositions. I'm just reading what the man wrote. And I do know, over following for years, he's very methodical, meticulous in what he writes. There was no order, again, in capital letters, in writing. How would you know that? Well, we know which orders there are. We do have the library and archives. There's nothing there. And it was an absolutely illegal act perpetrated by the radical left insurrectionists who illegally ran the Biden administration. Every one of them should be arrested for what they've done to our country. They didn't win the presidency, but when you think of it, neither did Joe Biden. So he's talking about two different things there. Those people weren't president, but then again, Joe wasn't either. Okay. The whole thing was rigged. There must be a price to pay, and it has to be a big one. President Trump. So he posts that, and as I'm reading it, I'm thinking there's some knowledge there with all the quotations that he's not telling us who. And is it possible that Pam Bondi? Oh, wait a minute. It is possible. Remember, in case you forgot, on January 12th, which was Monday, I believe it was Monday, they opened up 2 grand juries down here in South Florida, one in Fort Pierce and one in Fort Lauderdale, and nobody in the media is even talking about those 2 grand juries. So if you have the inherent knowledge that 2 grand juries have been opened up here in South Florida, does this mean a little bit more to you once you realize and remember that? Because if they open the grand juries, they've been presenting documents, the grand juries have been asking questions, and who knows where those proceedings have gone in the last week. I just felt I'd have to remind you a little bit about that in case that wasn't prevalent in your mind with all the craziness that's going on. That's a long one. Let me go to the shorter one first before I get to the long one. Then he posted this at 11:13. A front page article in the fake news Wall Street Journal states without any verification that I offered Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase to be the Fed chairman. This statement is totally untrue. There was never such an offer. And in fact, I'll be suing JP Morgan Chase over the next 2 weeks for incorrectly and inappropriately debanking me after the January 6th protest, a protest that turned out to be correct for those doing the protesting. The election was rigged. Why wouldn't the Wall Street Journal call me to ask whether or not such an offer was made? I would have very quickly told them no, and that would have been the end of the story. Also, one was led to believe that I offered Jamie Dimon the job of Secretary of the Treasury, but that would be one that he would be very interested in. The problem is I have Scott Bessent doing a fantastic job, a superstar. Why would I give it to Jamie Dimon? No such offer was made there or even thought of. The Wall Street Journal ought to do better fact-checking, or its already strained credibility will continue to dive. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There's a conversation taking place way above our heads and in circles that we're not in. JP Morgan is in big trouble in the silver market. They, without being too involved in it, let me just tell you, they have a short position where financially they may not recover. Unless, of course, the Federal Reserve bails them out, which may be why Powell is trying to stay in as long as possible and trying to shift money around. Because once Trump gets his guy in there, these banks are screwed. I mean, absolutely screwed. You may see some very, very large banks, boom, go out of business. If you want to check, go look up JP Morgan silver short status, things of that nature. JP Morgan, how short are they in the market? And when you find out how short they are and that they're trying to dump all this paper stuff and trying to acquire metals, but they can't get the metals. And so there's a lot of manipulation going on in that market. Follow that closely, very closely. And this one is incredibly long, but it's worth spending some time on. President Trump dropped this one. We have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. Basically, they've been our kids. We've been giving them money, and they haven't given us anything back. Well, for kids, we don't expect anything back. They're our kids. But these are sovereign nations. They should be standing on their own. They shouldn't be relying on America to prop them up. He's letting you know that. Now, after centuries, it's time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it. So basically, he's saying there, you're going to lose. It's just a matter of who you're going to lose to. We're going to take it, or China and Russia are going to take it. That's it. Those are your only options. You are not going to survive as an individual country. Go ahead and run around the streets in Denmark, have all your protests, do everything you want to get these nuts out on the street. But very soon, it ain't going to matter. He's talking turkey to these people right now. Where was I? They currently have 2 dog sleds as protection. He mentioned that in a meeting the other day. They have 2 dog sleds as protection. They recently added one. Only the United States of America under Donald Trump can play in this game, and very successfully at that. Nobody will touch this sacred piece of land, especially since the national security of the United States and the world at large is at stake. On top of everything else, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown. Well, we know what the purpose is. They're losing hold. They're trying to find that one piece in the Western Hemisphere that they can still cling to. Trump knows this. You know this. This is a very dangerous situation for the safety, security, and survival of our planet. These countries who are playing this very dangerous game have put a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. Therefore, it is imperative, in order to protect the global peace and security, strong measures be taken so this potentially perilous situation ends quickly and without question, starting. And this is where it gets really tough, and this is where that SCOTUS ruling is going to be so important. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all of the above-mentioned countries, and he lists all the countries again, will each be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. If you want some champagne or some cheese, you might want to go ahead and order it now. Today is January 17th, and on February 1st, those things, the cars, everything is going to go up. All of it. Notice what's countries not in there. Well, I don't see Italy. Very interesting to me at least. On June 1st, the tariff will then be increased to 25%. This tariff will be due and payable until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. So everybody out there screaming about Trump's never going to get Greenland. You're not involved in running Greenland, and you're not involved in the export business of all these countries. If you think Trump's not going to get Greenland, tell me how these countries are going to afford to have to pay a 25% tariff to sell into the United States market. Emotions are taking over sensibilities. Because when you look at it, you cannot just sustain a 25% tariff. Will people pay 25% more for champagne? Maybe. People who buy champagne might just say, heck with it, I'll just buy it. French wine, all that kind of stuff. But you have to pay. The United States has been trying to do this transaction for over 150 years. Many presidents have tried for good reason, but Denmark has always refused. Now, because of the Golden Dome and modern day weapon systems, both offensive and defensive. I love that he put that in there. Offensive as well, meaning we're not just going to sit back and take it. Those were other presidents. We are now offensive. We are now the Department of War, not the Department of Defense. The need to acquire is especially important. Hundreds of billions of dollars are currently being spent on security programs having to do with the dome, including for the possible protection of Canada. And this is very brilliant, but highly complex systems can only work at the maximum potential and efficiency because of angles, meets, and bounds. If this land is included in it, the United States of America is immediately open to negotiations with Denmark and any of these countries that have been put at so much risk, despite all that we have done for them, including maximum protection over so many decades. Thank you for attention. So he puts up 3 posts today. One, obviously, about Denmark and Greenland and a bunch of European countries and slapping them right down. The other one he put up, as I showed you, was about the Wall Street Journal and JP Morgan and Chase Bank that might be in big trouble, all these banks together. And then the first one was about the auto pen. And so when you read that, and as you saw those things, what wasn't included? What was there no post about? I got to get the Jeopardy music thing out here. Dun, 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 dun. There was no post about Minneapolis. With everything you're seeing on television and all the posts you're seeing on X, where all kinds of hell is breaking loose, the one thing that everybody's been talking about is the Insurrection Act and doing something about this craziness in Minneapolis. And the President of the United States didn't say a word. To me, I'd be butt puckering if I was the people in Minneapolis, because the fact that he's not acknowledging anything means they're probably already making plans to go in, which means that he's running basically a head fake so he can do a no-look pass. Go ahead and read all this stuff and you'll never see this one coming. I would almost venture to say tomorrow he has nothing on his schedule. He's going to go to the national championship in football on Monday, and so he's going to be down here for an extended period of time. And if I was in Minneapolis, seeing that the president is he not talking about us here in Minneapolis? Is there nothing? No. Be afraid. Like Ray Liotta said in Goodfellas. If it was, I wasn't worried because they were cops, because if it was mobsters, I'd have never seen them coming. And right now, I'm pretty sure they're never going to see it coming in Minneapolis. He's not telegraphing his moves. He's not talking about it. And these guys are all running around the street acting crazy and carrying guns now. And there's no way he's sitting back going, nah, it looks like fun. Let him have some. No, it's coming. Yesterday was the first salvo, which we're going to get into right now because it's most assuredly coming. That's my take on it. All right, let's get into this.
Order would be restored, and I will make this prediction, if those federal agents left. As soon as they leave, we will have peace, we will have safety, and order will be restored.
Understand what he said right there, which is partly going to get both him and Walz in trouble. He just announced to the world a condition. There will only be peace if you guys leave. In other words, you're saying you could control the situation, you could make it peaceful, but you're not until they leave. How could you guarantee peace when they leave if you can't guarantee peace right now? You see, you stepped in it. You just admitted to the world, hey, when they're gone, it'll be peaceful, like you control something. And I'm sure a grand jury will be asked, how can he do that? How can he guarantee if once they leave, everything will be peaceful? Why would you even guarantee that? Interesting, huh, Jacob?
Thus far in 2026, last I checked, we had only had 4 shootings. 2 of them were ICE. An entire city of 435,000 people, 4 shootings, and 2 of them were ICE. It is clear that the practices that ICE is using is unconstitutional. They are not methodical. They are not well planned out. They have taken people out of their cars to detain them on major streets.
All right, so everything he said there, I could imagine myself sitting on a grand jury. And he's like, they've been taking people out on the streets that aren't, newcomers. How do you know that? Can you name them? How many of them? What was their disposition? What happened to these people? Why were they taken, supposedly? How is it unconstitutional? You see, this is a guy who's a politician. He's the mayor of a city. He's sitting on some sort of panel next to Keith Ellison, the attorney general of the state, and he's spewing stuff, knowing full well everything he's saying is false. So by saying all this stuff false and then saying you basically have the control for safety, you are letting the world know, including people sitting on a grand jury somewhere, that you are intentionally letting it happen.
The car running, not in park. Car rolls down the streets. You don't need to be a genius to figure out that that is not safe. We've had small children that have been damaged by the inhalation of some form of gas.
Whose fault is that? Oh, I know. The idiots that are bringing their kids like human sacrifices to a protest. You just admitted that you are such a bad city that some of the nuts and green hairs and blue hairs with nose rings are oh my God, they bred, first of all. That's the first thing we have to think, like, oh my God, they had kids? These people spawned? And they're such stupid, bad parents, they brought their kids to a protest. Where's child services? Minneapolis police, are you seeing people bring kids to a protest and you're completely ignoring the child's safety? That's negligence. You're admitting it right there. I could probably try this. This is simple. Hey, they're allowing people to bring their kids to a protest that they know could be violent. Who does that? Who brings their kids to a protest?
We've had loose dogs that were left unattended in the streets after ICE arrested and drove away with its owner. This is not making Minneapolis safer. This is not about safety.
Going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
All right. This is the Tim Walz speech. And this one, let's just stop every time and go, lie. That's the first one. They're going door to door and they're saying, point out where the black people are. Yeah, no.
They're pulling over people indiscriminately.
This entire video is a complete deposition. So, Governor Walz, are people being pulled over indiscriminately? How would you define indiscriminately? They told me to read this stuff.
Including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools. They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street.
I think these guys got so wrapped up in this. I think they were controlled by a puppet master that it looks like a hostage video, but I don't think he realized what he was saying. They're dragging pregnant women down the street. Okay.
Just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans. Kidnapping innocent people with no...
There's the big one. That one right there is going to get this guy, or should get this guy, handcuffs. You just said they are kidnapping people on national television. Oh, by the way, he took this video down. Oops, too late. I guess you didn't run it by your attorneys. I guess you didn't talk to an attorney and say, did you just say they're kidnapping people and you published this? Yeah. Dude, you can't say that. You cannot say someone is kidnapping somebody. But he did.
Warning and no due process. Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against...
It's going to seem like I'm stopping a lot because I want you to hear every single lie, which could turn out to be every single count against him. It's not about immigration. It's about organized brutality. So you're saying it's a criminal enterprise hatched by Trump, being affected by Tom Homan and Kristi Noem to just do all kinds of brutality.
The people of Minnesota by our own federal government. Last week, that campaign claimed the life of Renee Nicole Good. We've all watched the video. We've all seen what happened. And yet, instead of conducting an impartial investigation so we can hold accountable the officer responsible for Renee's...
You can't. See, that's just it. They want to be able to charge this person who's got federal immunity. So no, you're not involved, and you're implying that there's a murder.
Death. The Trump administration is devoting the full power of the federal government to finding an excuse to attack the victim and her family.
Another lie. I don't know. I don't understand. I couldn't say this in a corporate meeting. You could potentially be sued if you made this kind of statement on social media. This is the governor of a state. And he's spewing so much BS. I mean, it's literally every single line. Whoever wrote this for him was an activist, and they didn't run it through legal.
Just yesterday, 6 federal prosecutors, including the longtime career prosecutor leading the charge to investigate and eliminate fraud in our state's programs, quit their jobs rather than go along with this assault on the United States Constitution.
All right, so I'm going to stop there because he has no idea why they quit. And one thing he didn't mention, he could have just put a period and said, instead, they've added 6 military law enforcement officers, legal officers from, the military. Now it should be starting to make sense to you. Why did President Trump and I don't know, I guess Pete Hegseth, why did they put military lawyers into Minneapolis to replace these 6 guys or women who are no longer there? You find it odd that they just all quit, we're not going to stand for this. And then there just happen to be 6 military attorneys ready to step in? Maybe that's what got this guy's pants soiled.
But as bad as it's been, Donald Trump intends for it to get worse. This week, he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming.
All right, so I find myself to be a wordsmith, and you guys can easily look up the definition of those words. You can see what retribution means. You can see what reckoning is. I mean, we could probably do it right now. Let me see what the word, how do they define, so I can share it all with you guys. Reckoning. Let's see here. It says judgment. A reckoning is a judgment, whether it's down here or up there. The reckoning is going to solve everything. The judgment. They make it sound like it's a bad word. It's a day of reckoning and retribution. Reckoning. Day of judgment. I think idiots running around with blue hair, even though some of them are teachers, don't understand what that means. Let's look at retribution. I've done this. I don't have it saved. Retribution, severe punishment. How are any of those two things bad? Reckoning, judgment, retribution, punishment. For me, those two things go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Well, I guess you could have punishment, meted out without having the judgment, but what he just told you was actually legal. We're going to judge you, and then we're going to punish you. Sort of like what your mom did. Did you do that? Pop, there, the reckoning, and then, then came the retribution. That's not bad. In fact, one of the things that bothered me about him saying this is that the people who are liberals look at reckoning and retribution as bad things. They are never chastised for their actions. They never have to have any personal accountability. When you don't have any personal accountability, the words reckoning and retribution sound terrible to you because you probably haven't had any of that since you were a little kid. That's why they're all running around the street doing stupid stuff. They haven't ever, probably in a long time, faced reckoning, judgment, and retribution, punishment. Most of you, and I know I've faced much reckoning, and I've also felt much retribution. And I'm better for it. There are things I won't do because I learned of the reckoning and the following retribution. I'm pretty sure each one of you can say, yeah, I got reckoned, and then I got retribution. Because that's how life is. It's not a bad thing. Why are they focusing on those two words? That's what you guys have to realize. I'm going to show you something with Ilhan Omar, and she says it too. He keeps talking about a reckoning and a retribution. Yeah, you have to be judged and punished. Why is that bad? Because they don't want people having any accountability whatsoever.
That's a direct threat against the people of this state who dared to vote against him 3 times and who continue to stand up for freedom with...
I'll tell you what, I'd rather have reckoning and retribution here than up there, or where some of these people may be going. Maybe you get the reckoning and retribution here, and you realize you don't need to be standing up against the government. You're telling people they want to do a reckoning and give you retribution for standing up to the government.
Courage and empathy and profound grace. All across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors who are being unjustly and unlawfully targeted.
All right, there's another lie. So if so-and-so person has a warrant, number one, or so-and-so person is supposed to be here, number two, maybe they're hanging out in a house somewhere that trace de leches. That's number three. Maybe they're Somalians committing all kinds of fraud. Gazillion dollars in fraud. No reason. No retribution here.
They're distributing care packages and walking kids to school and raising their voices in peaceful protest, even though doing so has made many of our fellow Minnesotans targets for violent retribution.
Wait a minute. Wait. I thought retribution was a bad thing. So now you're saying that because they're protesting, they've been targeted for retribution. No, they have received a little bit of retribution, maybe a pepper ball to the face because they've touched a cop. Oh, they've crossed over that, that line, that moat of peaceful protesting. I would love to get this guy in a deposition and say, can you define peaceful protesting? I'm not going to ask you the hard question. I won't ask you if men can get pregnant. I know that's a real hard one. Your IQ might not reach there, but can you at least define a peaceful protest? Because damn, I can't see them. I don't know what it is. You guys keep saying it, and I keep seeing them beat up people. There's video today. The guy got beat up, chased him around. He has every right to stand on that Minnesota street as any one of those protesters, but the peaceful protesters beat him up. There are videos of the mob going into restaurants because they're accosting people who look like I didn't know what you would look like, who look like they might be ICE agents. There are videos of people walking down the street and telling people, you need to say F ICE. I don't want to say F ICE. Well, then you're one of them. That's not peaceful. And it's all recorded.
Folks, I know it's scary. And I know it's absurd that we all have to be defending law and order, justice, and humanity while also caring for our families and trying to do our jobs. So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, end this occupation.
You are telling the federal government not to enforce federal law. What basis do you have that? Because you didn't say, I'm asking. You said, I'm telling them.
You've done enough. Let me say 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota. 4 things I want you to hear as you watch the news and look out for your neighbors. First, Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets.
I didn't pick up on all this the first time I watched it, mainly because most of it, you couldn't even hear everything. But I'm thinking to myself now as I was getting ready today, I'm like, man, you literally stepped in it, bro. I mean, you got no way to extricate yourself from charges.
We cannot give him what he wants. We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully.
I think they left off that part. Maybe that was when it got garbled in your video. Urgently, loudly, but be peaceful. I don't think they're following that. And as of 6 o'clock when I went on, I did not see either you or the mayor or even the chief of police going out into the street and say, hey, listen, you guys got the first 2 down. You are really good with urgently, and you're extremely good with loudly, but you have a problem with the peaceful stuff. All right, so you can continue in 1 and 2. You got that good. Number 3, you're going to have to work on the whole peaceful thing. You have to take it down. Stop doing what you're doing. How's it going to work? Number 1, you'd never see him say that. But number 2, they ain't ever going to listen to him.
Indeed, as hard as we will fight in the courts and at the ballot box, we cannot and will not let violence prevail. You're angry. I'm angry. Angry is not a strong enough word. But we must remain peaceful. Second, you are not powerless. You are not helpless. And you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger. Thousands upon thousands of our fellow Minnesotans are going to be relying on mutual aid in the days and weeks to come.
What's that even mean? What? You just talked about a peaceful protest, but you said thousands upon thousands of Minnesotans are going to need aid. What kind of, you can just go home. You're hungry, go eat. What are you guys planning to tell me that thousands and thousands of Minnesotans are going to need aid? Explain that. You're out here supposedly carrying a picket sign, walking around, I hate ICE, F ICE, whatever, yeah, I gotcha. What aid do you need? And what are you planning to provide this so-called aid to people?
And they need our support. Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities.
Now, see, that's where you're going to be screwed. Because now you've just commissioned a whole lot of witnesses, as you said, and a whole lot of evidence. You see, I'm pretty sure the ICE agents have been told, you're on camera. Everything you do is going to be filmed. They're going to try and make it seem like, you're doing something bad. They're taking pictures at funny angles. You're assuming that everything that you're doing is going to be edited so that you can show that ICE is doing bad things. But here's the thing I came up with that I'm pretty sure Tim Walz and Jacob don't understand, is you have to wonder how many people are undercover with the protesters being witnesses who are getting the full picture. See, not a lot of people are thinking about this. Not a lot of people are talking about it. How many of the protesters out there who may not be engaging in crazy stuff are there to document for ICE, who are taking video and taking pictures and seeing who's running over here. Barry, how can you think that? How would you know? Did you see how quickly they caught the guys who broke into the FBI car and stole the weapon? Did you see how it was under 24 hours? I was like, how in the hell did they catch that person so quickly? Did any of you guys think of that? They're arresting these people left and right. I'm like, huh? They just, in a cover of darkness, they're breaking into an FBI car. They've got masks and stuff on. They're hammering stuff in. And the next day, oh, we caught them. And I went, oh, they got people planted. And you people are too stupid, not you. Them people are too stupid to know. There are people obviously planted inside the protesters who are documenting everything. They have no idea who's there going, yeah. And you're taking pictures. And who knows, they may be targeting with some sort of laser beam, a freaking laser beam on their shirt. So it's invisible until they can look through the infrared and go, that's him right there. I don't know what kind of technology they could have. I don't know if they've got some sort of drones up there taking pictures and videos. All I know is they just went into Venezuela, went into a compound with real guards, killed them all, and let everybody else poop themselves and grab Maduro. And you're telling me these idiots running around in Minnesota, they found them in 24 hours? Tell me something else. Tell me something else. I was born, but I wasn't born last night. They have to have people embedded in there, and they don't even know who they are.
So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans.
See, that's perfect. At this point, he gave people the opportunity to begin filming. We want as many of you as possible as filming. So if I'm sitting back and I'm in the FBI or ICE or whatever, I'm like, well, put one of those fake nose rings on and paint your hair and get your ass out there and take some video and take this freaking laser beam and, mark the people we need to look for later. There are a lot of people on the ground. Nick Sordo is on the ground. There's all kinds of citizen journalists on the ground. So it's not far-fetched to think that the good guys have people embedded as well.
Not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution. The third thing I want to say to you tonight is we will not have to live like this forever. Accountability is coming at the voting booth and in court. We will reclaim our communities from Donald Trump. We will reestablish a sense of safety for our neighbors, and we will bring an end to this moment of chaos, confusion, and trauma. We will find a way to move forward, and we'll do it together. And we'll not be alone. Every day we are working with business leaders, faith leaders, legal experts, and elected officials from across this country.
You see what he just did there? You just told us you have a large group of people involved in this conspiracy, this RICO Act. You just told everybody we got pastors, we got other politicians, we got politicians across the country who are going to be working together on this. So if I'm Trump, I'm like, let it go a little bit longer. Are guys protected? Yeah. We got people embedded? Yeah. Let this go a little bit longer. Let's see who shows up. Let's see who the people are that want to insert themselves into this. And let's see how much they interfere with our actions. And damn if they didn't do that.
They've all seen what Donald Trump is trying to do to our state, and they know their states could be next. And that brings me to the fourth thing I want to say tonight, Minnesota, how incredibly proud I am of the way that you've risen to meet this unbearable moment.
All right. So number 4 should have been go home. Remember the January 6th thing where President Trump was impeached because, they thought he was inciting a riot? The last thing he said was go peacefully, and then he go home. There's been no go home from anything Tim Walz has said. There's been no go home from anything Jacob Frey has said. Because there's been no go home, The exact same statutes that they used against President Trump, they now can be charged with. They set the precedent. They're the ones who said it was an insurrection and that President Trump incited it. And we're looking at you guys doing the real incitement. At least President Trump said, go home, let it go. You don't hear this from these guys. Not a word. Yet they have already set the precedent for charging President Trump.
But I'm not at all surprised, because this is who we are. Minnesotans believe in the rule of law, and Minnesotans believe in the dignity of all people. We're a place where there's room for everybody, no matter who you are, or who you love, or where you came from.
He's talked for 4.5 minutes. Did you hear the word American anywhere? Nope. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you love. Somehow this is, he's roped the gay people in. Doesn't matter where you're from. Yeah, it actually does. It matters. It matters a lot where people are from. If they're not supposed to be here, they're not supposed to be here. It does matter where they're from.
A place where we feed our kids, we take care of our neighbors, and we look out for those in the shadows of life. We're an island of decency in a country being driven towards cruelty.
And that one should get him the gold handcuffs. An island of decency. You're on your own out here. I said this a couple days ago. That was the one that struck me before I went and did the research. An island. You're the island. You're not a part of the American United States. You're not part of all what those guys are doing. We are the island of decency. Maybe because I am MAGA, I can take that as a complete insult. I'm just hoping the people on the grand jury understand what he just said too. I don't need to follow what this guy says. I don't need to follow the Constitution. Because why? Because we're an island of decency here, and we don't care where you come from, who you love, what you do. His words. We don't care where you're from.
We will remain an island of decency, of justice, of community, of peace. And tonight I come before you simply to ask, don't let anyone take that away from us.
All right. Don't let anyone take that away from us. So let me show you what I'm talking about. And here's what he's been being investigated with. I want you to take a look at this. It said the DOJ is now reportedly investigating Walz and Frey for alleged violations of U.S. Code 18372, which is one of the charges that the House January 6th committee said could potentially be brought against Donald Trump. The exact same charge. Anti-Trump forces set a precedent for expansive prosecutions. They did it. I don't sometimes when I see what Trump does, I think to myself, this man has taken 4 years and he knew what they did to him. And he's like, we're going to do that to them. Now they can't even argue. And here it is. Other conspiracy statutes, 372, 2384, depending on evidence developed by the Department of Justice, the president's actions with the knowledge of the risk of violence could also constitute a violation of 372, both of which require proof of a conspiracy. Section 372 prohibits a conspiracy between two or more persons to, quote, prevent by force, intimidation, or threat any person from accepting or holding any office, trust, or place of confidence under the United States, or from discharging any duties thereof. He is going to try and remove Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. But the whole thing with this was foretold. Again, the breadcrumbs, and then the breadcrumbs catch up. I wonder if the initiative into Minneapolis was planned based upon what the DOJ had already done. I know some of you are thinking, what the hell are you talking about? What if this was already had a predicate? What if there was already a reason in place for them to go into Minneapolis to begin with? that, again, nobody's talking about. So let me show you this and maybe jar some people's memories. Let me put it, what number am I going to go to here? I'm going to go to this one. All right. This was from January 7th. That's 10 days ago. The Honorable Pam Bondi, it's addressed to. Pursuant to our constitutional oversight responsibilities, I am writing to formally refer Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation and prosecution for violations of 18 U.S.C. 371, which govern conspiracy to defraud the United States and aiding and abetting and federal offense. On January 7th, this was given to Pam Bondi. Light bulbs going off? Yeah, they should be. They should be right now. Information brought to congressional attention raises serious concerns regarding the administration of federally funded programs under Governor Walz's authority and whether actions taken by state officials obstructed lawful federal functions, including federal oversight, auditing, and enforcement mechanisms tied to the use of federal funds. I could go on to read the rest of this to you, but this letter here was put forth by Anna Polina Luna, and this is, she says here 18, let me see if I can make it bigger. Makes it too big. All right. 18 U.S.C. 371 criminalizes conspiracies to defraud the United States or to impair, obstruct, or defeat lawful federal functions through deceitful or dishonest means, provided that an overt act is taken in furtherance of the committee. The seriousness of these concerns warrants careful and impartial review. Federal funds must be protected. Federal oversight must not be obstructed, and no public official is exempt from accountability under the law. I think they call that checkmate. And that was way back on January 7th. So we find out last night that they're opening a grand jury, and now the grand jury has issued subpoenas. And this goes back to at least January 7th when he was referred for criminal referral. And so the grand jury was already open. They've already been investigating him. It's just becoming public right now. Now it's starting to make a little bit more sense to you. And now CNN had to deal with it last night.
And look, based on their public statements, it's pretty clear that, and based on the statements of officials at DOJ, it's pretty clear there is concern that these two guys have used their positions and their public statements to try to obstruct the execution of federal laws. Now, whether that rises...
See, I didn't realize it, what Scott was saying here. Scott's a brilliant guy, and he's also got some insider contact. He's quoting 371 and 372. He knew there was a criminal referral. He just said, he says, rises to. He's talking about the specific statute, and these clowns on CNN are like, CNN have no idea what he's talking about.
Is to a crime?
Can you give me an example? Yeah, where's that clarity?
Well, I think they've both made numerous public statements that have made it perfectly clear that they do not want federal laws to be enforced in Minnesota, and that they flatly said they don't want ICE there enforcing federal immigration laws. They have literally both said, ICE, leave Minnesota. In fact, Tim Walz said we're on the third day of Gettysburg at one point.
He did not say that.
Oh, he did?
Okay, sorry, but he didn't say that. Jacob Frey has said...
When things looked really bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held that line for the nation on that July 3rd, 1863. And I think now we may be in that moment.
To be clear, he is referring to a Minnesota regiment during the Battle of Gettysburg.
Back with the breaking news.
CNN, they can lie to people because they don't expect that you've heard it or remembered it. And you saw Scott Jennings' face like, are you serious? He didn't say it. What do you mean he didn't say it? Oh, he never said anything about Gettysburg. And I know he just sat there. The one time I talked to him, I could tell he was so astute. And this guy doesn't just say stuff to say stuff. And Abby Phillip and the rest of the nuts out there, all they care about is trying to prove him wrong. They haven't done the homework he has. He knew which statute they were going to go after him with. He knew what he did when he said the first time about the Gettysburg and, the Civil War. They're like, oh yeah, he never said that. That's absurd.
Our politics lead, a source telling CNN that the Justice Department is investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, both Democrats, allegedly for obstructing law enforcement. Moments ago, I received a statement from Governor Walz. It says, quote, 2 days ago it was Alyssa Slotkin. Last week it was Jerome Powell. Before that, Mark Kelly. Weaponizing the justice system and threatening political opponents is a dangerous authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her, unquote. And a source in Governor Walz's office also tells me that they have not been notified of anything. My panel is here. Archie, your reaction?
I think it's troubling, but it is a pattern that we have seen, and in some ways, it feels like it's Governor Walz and the mayor have really been upset about not being kind of read into this investigation. So it's almost like a strong offense is a good defense. And so clearly we see the Trump administration going after these folks because they really want a seat at the table on something that they are at the front lines of in terms of the shooting.
What the hell did she just say? Between all the blinking, telling me straight off she has no idea what she's talking about, when she did say something, what the hell did she just say? They were caught completely. Oh, Lily was walking underneath my legs. They were caught completely flat-footed, and they had nobody to bring on and to discuss what had just happened. That they announced that they're under federal investigation, which they actually announced on January 7th.
Person familiar tells me that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are both being investigated by the Justice Department. And a grand jury has issued subpoenas for both of them, though it doesn't appear that either have been served yet.
All right, so that's important because the first newscast that came out were that Pam Bondi was going to try and subpoena him, or the Oversight Committee. It's already at the point where the grand jury issued the subpoenas. What does that tell you? If the grand jury issued the subpoenas last night, ergo, the grand jury has already been working. The grand jury has already been impaneled. The grand jury has already been reviewing evidence. I want you to make sure you understand that distinction, because Caitlin had a little bit more to offer than what Jake Tapper did, and she said the grand jury issued the subpoenas. This didn't come from the House. It didn't come from Pam Bondi. It came from the grand jury. The grand jury can't issue a subpoena unless they've already been impaneled and already been taking evidence. So these guys are knee deep, and it's too late. They're already in the trap. And as you know, they always say you can indict a ham sandwich. I know Letitia James wiggled out of one and Comey wiggled out of one, but these guys ain't Comey and Letitia James. I think these guys are absolutely cooked. I think they're going to be walked out in cuffs relatively soon, because now they're at the stage, and this is what the other thing you have to understand. Now that they've been subpoenaed, whether personally or documents, now you're starting to think, oh, crap, I almost said the bad word. What do they already have on me? Because that's the first thing a lawyer's going to say. What do they got on you? Because in order to get the subpoena, somebody had to present to the grand jury, look at all this. And the grand jury's like, and then they ask the grand jury, we could get more. We just need to subpoena them. We need you to subpoena them so we can get even more to show you. And the grand jury said, yeah, go get some more. Here you go. Go do it. And so all the screaming they did a couple days ago, then he quickly deleted that video. And I haven't seen much of Jacob Frey lately. Now they're realizing, and they're huddling and going, oh, crap. What do we do? Well, we got to show good face. We have to show that we're not scared, even though our depends are all soiled. We have to show that everything is going to be okay. So what's the best way to show it? Let's see if we can bring in a bunch of people to show their support for us. And so we can pretend like, we got this. Meanwhile, they have to be quaking, because January 7th, that referral went in. January 12th, the grand jury was impaneled down here in Florida. Was it the same grand jury? I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else talk about a grand jury being impaneled anywhere else in regard. You would know there are people who watch dockets who would have said, oh, there's a grand jury in Minnesota. There's a grand jury in Wisconsin. I haven't heard any other ones. So if it was from the grand juries down here in Florida, these guys are they're cooked.
What we do know tonight, as we come on the air, is that the Justice Department investigation centers on possible obstruction of federal law enforcement. Both the FBI Director, Kash Patel, and the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, were in Minneapolis today. And just a short time ago, Todd Blanche was on Fox News explaining, or attempting to explain, why the Justice Department is taking this action.
When the governor or the mayor threaten our officers, when the mayor suggests that he's encouraging citizens to call 911 when they see ICE officers, that is very close to a federal crime.
This is not just an occupation that is terrorizing people in Minnesota that live in Minneapolis and St. Paul, which they are comfortable with when the president says he's coming for retribution because they think it's Democrats who voted against the president that he's coming after.
Why would you think that? If anybody, I would think you're one of the ones they're coming after. I think Tim Walz is one of the ones. I think Jacob Frey. They're not coming after Minnesotans that voted, unless, of course, you voted and you weren't supposed to. Now the net, you guys can see now the net has been cast. And let's see the fish that we bring in here. And we know they're going to try and rope in Tim Walz. You know they're going to try and rope in Jacob Frey. This one here, who's also fear of retribution, might be the other big fish in the net.
But it is all of Minnesota. When my constituents call for help, we don't ask them who they voted for, because that is what it means to be an elected U.S. representative.
You're a little angry, ain't you? You mad, bro? Why are you so upset? And everybody's sitting there clapping for her, and they know that she might be one of the ones next. It's going to be interesting if the subpoena is personal or documents. There's a term called subpoena ducis tecum, which is actually documents. And if it's a ducis tecum subpoena, then they won't have to appear. But if it's an actual subpoena of the people, ooh, this should get really good next week.
So it is appalling. It is appalling for our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to be okay for the president to carry out retribution here in Minnesota. It is appalling for our Republican colleagues to be okay for there to be cell detentions in ICE for American citizens.
Huh? American citizens, unless they're the ones depositing the money or facilitating the money, I don't think any American citizens have to worry. Unless they're the ones who opened the bank accounts and did the wire transfers and showed them how to fill out the paperwork for fake daycare centers, I don't think there's many Americans that have to worry. By the way, you were casting a wide blanket and thinking that everybody in Minnesota is with you. They're not.
It's appalling for them to be okay, for there to be checkpoints in American cities where people are asked for their papers. And it is appalling for Americans to have to carry their citizen papers only to be told they are not sure if those papers are correct.
She been to an airport lately? I'm just saying. Ever since some of her people and some people did something, when they did something on 9/11, most of us didn't have to get strip searched to walk on an airplane. But somehow all of that's forgotten because the Somalis in Minnesota might have to prove they're supposed to be here. The Somalis in Minnesota are feeling uncomfortable because they're asked to show certain papers. I don't like having to show my driver's license, my registration, and my insurance if I get pulled over, but you know what? I have to. Why is it that Americans have to do so much? Why do the Americans have to bend over and have so much documentation? My wife's in Las Vegas. She flies back in tonight. Thank God. She will be here tonight. Well, tomorrow morning. She leaves tonight at 10 Vegas time. She flies in at 6 a.m. Florida time. But when she goes in, you know what you got to do to get on a plane. And here's your ticket, boarding pass. Here's your ID. Hey, look at your scan here. We're going to fingerprint you. Bend over. Take off your shoes. Just because some people did something a few years ago. Why is it that we can be encumbered, and as much as we don't like it, we don't stand up and scream and bitch anymore? We're like, okay, here's this, here's that, here's the other thing. I remember when you could pull up right next to the airport and wait till the person you were picking up was coming out. Nope, keep moving, keep moving. Why? Do I look like one of them? Keep moving. All right. You don't even question it anymore. Where's the cell phone parking lot? Let me just go sit. All these things that Americans have had to do, the inconveniences that we accepted. And you're concerned that these people might have to show their ID for a little while? Prove who they are? Yeah, unreal.
I don't want to curse, but those of us who escaped places like that, the one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. goddamn states.
They don't arrest her. If you heard it, I was going to bleep it, but I wanted you to hear what she just said. Oh, in an open hearing with other Congress people sitting there nodding their head. The U.S. GD states. This woman is a sworn politician, elected politician of those same U.S. GD states. The same GD states that my father fought for, that maybe some of your relatives fought for, that my wife's father fought for, that my brother went to war for after he got out of West Point. That GD states. Those people who I just mentioned did it proudly. If they were alive, they'd do it again. And this monster, this complete scumbag, has the nerve to say these GD states. You know, if she were to get dragged out and hogtied someplace and by some people somewhere, I wouldn't even bat an eye. You just desecrated the same government that you have sworn to uphold. How can anybody trust anything she says? How can anybody want to be governed by her? At some point, enough is enough, Minnesota. At some point, I gotta believe there's more good people in Minnesota than bad. I gotta believe that there are people in Minnesota, if they hear that, would be, she gotta go. Let's recall her. Let's do whatever we need to do. This is not someone who's standing up for the ideals of America. No politician could ever stand on principle and say that's okay to say. No, I don't care about your freedom of speech. There is a line. I'm glad I wasn't in the room. I'd have ripped that thing off her head. Oh, you don't even know.
And we should all be ashamed that it is the United States that is allowing for this to take place, and it is being forecasted and broadcasted to the rest of the world, where people are calling and saying, are you sure this is America?
I don't give one rat's ass what other countries are saying. Why are you, an elected official of this country, worried about what other countries are saying? Where is your allegiance? Oh, that's right. You took it out of schools. This is what happens. We took it out of schools. I pledge allegiance to the flag. We took it out of schools. We took prayer out of schools, and we substituted it with this monster. The fact that she said GD states and then said the rest of the world is, they're all pissed off. I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. I'm an American. Why would I care what they think? I don't live there. I don't have anything to do with them. I hope their people stay safe. But other than that, I don't give an F. I have not one F to give about other countries saying bad things about our country or our president.
I am ashamed, and we must do everything that we can to bring back the America we all escaped into.
I don't think you want that. Oh, no, you don't want that. You don't want to bring the America back that it used to be. Because if you truly believe that, your ass would be back in Somalia walking with some dirty toes in sandals. Your ass would be back in Somalia trying to figure out which boat you're going to pirate. Your ass would be back in Somalia doing the dirty deed with your brother. No, you don't want America back. Trust me. Trust me, you do not want to see America back the way it was. Oh, no, no, no.
Hey, I'm here.
I'm going to take a break after this next piece, but she was in there in some sort of congressional hearing, and that was what she said, and they applauded her. The Civil War is already happening. This is just evidence for you guys who don't realize it yet. It's already there. My legs are shaking. I'm so pissed off. And I saw it before I concluded it. And I'm sitting here going, you just put me in, coach. I'm 65 years old, but put me in. Tell me, point me at her. They're destroying America, and President Trump has no other option but to tear it all down. Just bringing this entire disease temple down on itself. We got to start over. Look at this.
With Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota. We are so excited that we have 28 members of Congress from all over the country here to stand up with you, Governor. You have been such a strong champion to say that what is happening in Minnesota is absolutely not right. Tell us.
Well, Congresswoman, thank you. And to everybody out there across the country, thank you for standing with Minnesota. We're here today in beautiful, peaceful St. Paul, a place that we care for our neighbors. We care for everyone. This assault that we're...
Except Americans. Again, the words neighbors. Seems like you would have said, we're here, beautiful St. Paul, home of great Americans. Nope. Neighbors. What the hell does that mean?
Seeing is traumatic, but what I keep telling Minnesotans, we're not alone in this fight. We're on the right side of justice, the right side of history. Please keep thinking of Minnesota. Send us your thoughts, prayers, and any help you can. And a huge thank you to members of Congress who are actually doing the job. In a few short months, this will be Madam Chair, and we'll start straightening this country out.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grateful.
Thank you.
I'll be back because my leg was twitching.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
You know, it's really funny when I'm assembling a show, and it's not like Trump speeches or appearances. When I'm actually assembling a regular show, I pray about it, and I'm like, help me find the words to talk to people, and so I can convey what they're seeing, understand where they can do the research, show them, show people as much as possible. And I was watching it, and it was funny. I'm talking, and I'm watching my leg just move, and my leg doesn't do that until I'm ready to like destroy something. I remember it all the way back from high school football, and I couldn't wait to get on the field, and my leg would just be going, and my coach goes, "You're ready." "Oh, I'm ready." "How do you know I'm ready?" "I see you. You can't sit still. You're ready to take somebody's face up." "Oh, yeah, I'm ready, coach." Stuff's ready to do it on my own. I may not be in control of this stuff. And so even Robin is like, "Breathe." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Your leg is twitching." "Oh. Is it showing?" "Yeah, you're pissed off." "All right, I'm better. And I knew going into this and showing to people, I'm like, I can't not get pissed. And I know it's going to piss some of you off. And I saw this comment by Carrie. It says, "My fists are so damn clenched right now, they are turning purple." I thought to myself, when we get to that section, you got to put the beep in. I'm like, no. Y'all need to hear the exact same words she says. You need to hear what she says about your country. And PayPal was sitting right next to her. So you're okay with it. You clapped for it. My gosh. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God." You took that out of schools. And so now you're like, "You're ashamed." I'm ashamed. I remember, I don't know if my mom watched too many Godfather movies too, but you got to talk maybe when you were growing up, and your parents like, whatever goes on here, you don't talk about this. Don't talk against the family. Well, the Democrats just love talking against Americans. Everything they say is so anti-American. It's crazy. Farmer's daughter says, "I'm seriously pissed to the point I almost can't even look and listen to what I'm saying, so it makes me want these people out of this country." Yeah, I think we should use it as aspiration, motivation to know without any other doubt. Many of us who are Christian, we look the other way and go, "Yeah, it can't be that bad, is it? It's not really that bad." Now you know without any doubt, they're looking to tear and destroy America. And so at this point, I think President Trump, not only does he have to declare the Insurrection Act, he's got to do so much. The nightmare that would exist if these people are ever allowed to be in power again. The Democrat Party cannot be beat in an election. The Democrat Party must be destroyed. Jeffrey says, "Yes, it is that bad. They want America gone. They want the Bible gone." Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Accountability is everything. Exactly. Let's see here. Yeah, when he said "Madam Chair," I almost threw up in my mouth too. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, one nation under Allah if we are not careful. Exactly. I think it's worse. I think we're living in the last days before the tribulation. It's bad. It's really bad. Psalm 33:12. Going to church tomorrow. "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." I completely concur. All right. Let's get back to the show.
When we talk about using language and words, and let's go to Mike on this, it's really language and words that lead to action on the part of the agitators on the ground. When you're telling them to film, to track, and calling this an invasion, Mike, that comes pretty close to incitement. And one would think you get text messages and you get emails.
All right, so this was the code 372 that I quoted earlier. If two or more people in any state, territory, possession, or district conspire to prevent by force, intimidation, or threat any person from accepting or holding any office, trust, or place of confidence under the United States.
And the story might actually get a lot spicier for them.
Yeah, under the Constitution, our U.S. Congress writes our immigration laws on behalf of the American people. Congress decides who gets to come and who has to go, and the president has a constitutional duty to enforce those federal.
I urge you to go, just Google that. Google 18 U.S. Code 372 so you can see the entire text of the statute. It's right there. Read it for yourself. I know this is quick going on TV, and when I showed it, look it up, 18 U.S. Code 372.
Federal immigration laws. That is the supreme law of the land, and these local governors, these local mayors cannot interfere with federal immigration enforcement. That is not only is it assaults on federal law enforcement, you're looking at insurrection and seditious conspiracy, along with harboring, conspiracy in general, and many other serious federal felonies when you are inciting people to commit violent acts to physically obstruct federal law enforcement. So I would say to...
So understand what he's saying, which is very interesting. Mike Davis, a lawyer. They're not talking about the protesters being the insurrectionists. They've leapfrogged that. No, these people are nothing. They're idiots. They're running around. They're being incited. They're not the insurrectionists. They're going straight for the head of the snake. They want Tim Walz. They want Jacob Frey. That's who they're going to go after.
Governor Walz and to Mayor Frey, you better back down or you're going to end up in federal prison.
I don't have a problem with that. And I hate how they always keep trying to say they speak for all Minnesotans, which is another crock.
I want to read something President Trump said today on Truth Social. Quote, in Minnesota, the troublemakers, agitators, and insurrectionists are in many cases highly paid professionals. Is there any truth to that? How do you respond to that?
Why are you asking him? See, this is how CNN and the media spins things. You're asking the guy who's probably going to have the next indictment or the next federal charge. You're asking him to explain his own insurrection. He would not know what a grand jury is looking at. President Trump does. President Trump probably gets reports. But instead of asking somebody who might be understanding what the hell is going on, the propaganda machine goes right into action and let's let the fox tell you what they're doing in the chicken coop.
I would say that is an untrue statement. I have never met such a person as paid to be it's just a lie. I think you could put it in the category of Haitians in Ohio eating pets, or.
You really want to go there? You really want to say that's the case?
Something like that. It's just made up nonsense that we hear from Trump all the time. I will say it. I will answer the question this way, Jake. We have no information that is true. We have information that in fact is false. And if he is going to make such a claim, maybe he should bring some evidence of it. We've seen no such evidence of it.
All right. This guy's an attorney, the attorney general of the state. He should know better. You wouldn't see the evidence right now. Why would they show the cards to the investigation? See, the one thing that you do know is that the grand jury just asked Tim Walz and Jacob Frey and gave them a subpoena. So I would be very careful what you say right here, because you have no idea what they already know. You have no idea what that evidence already has been put before somebody. And Jake Tapper, you're being an idiot because you're trying to let people think, oh, there's no evidence. There's no corroboration. It's fine. It's just made up. But the two of them sitting there they know that the grand jury has been impaneled, and neither one of them knows anything in regards to what the grand jury has already been seeing.
People are outside because they're upset. They're outside because their neighbors are being hauled off and being arrested. People are upset for the reasons that people tend to be upset, like the death of Renee Good and the shooting that happened in North Minneapolis. And
the shooting with the guys that tried to beat up the ICE guy with snow shovels and broomsticks. They're upset because of Renee Good trying to run over an ICE officer. They're upset. What are they upset at? What skin do they have in the game to be protesting? If the people who were beating on the cop with a snow shovel ended up getting shot, and then we find out they weren't supposed to be here either, what exactly are they upset about? I read in the news where, somebody got, arrested or shot here. I don't go protesting. It ain't got nothing to do with me. If I read, hey, some guy robbed a bank and then they caught him, and in the process of catching him, he broke or something and he's no longer with us, I'm not protesting because I don't got nothing to do with it. What are these people in the street for? Well, the only reason I'd be out in 10 degrees below zero is if you're paying me. Somebody's paying them. Those signs, they didn't make those in their backyard. They didn't have all the clang danglers. What was the one I saw yesterday? The lady, she actually made hers. She brought a broiler pan out, looking like she's from Mad Max. But where are they getting the rebreathers? Who's paying for all this stuff? How can you spend 10, 12, 14 hours a day out there in 10-degree weather? Come on, don't be stupid.
People being yanked out of their cars. That's why people are protesting. That's why they're upset. Everyone I talk to and listen to has been urging caution and restraint by protesters, but also saying that people have a right to protest.
They should let him know. They should let any guest know. Hey, while you're talking, we got a split screen, and we're showing people not being peaceful. Remember the whole thing with CNN and it's mostly peaceful protest and shit's burning behind them. It's like, dude, there's a split screen. There's a split screen showing protesters fighting with cops. You think he should know that? I'm sorry, Keith. I didn't know the producer was actually going to show that you were full of crap.
In the First Amendment. And so I wasn't there. I can't comment on any specific act, but I can tell you that overwhelmingly people are peaceful and disciplined and are protesting well within their rights, and ICE is provoking them.
Jake Tapper, you should be ashamed. You should quit. And all these people in the media, it'd be very simple. Mr. Ellison, can you define a peaceful protest? I mean, we hear it banning. It's sort of like fair share. We never get a definition. What do you really think peaceful protesting is? I don't see it. They're beating people up. They're throwing stuff. They're trying to tear down a fence. They're launching fireworks. Show me where the peaceful part is. And he's on television with the split screen right there.
Or trying to. And I do think that they're provoking. They would love a justification to invoke the Insurrection Act because I think that would give them an advantage in the election, namely to maybe suspend them, which.
You see, if you let them talk enough, they tell you what's really concerning to them. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say that, those neighbors that he's worried about having to be, shipped back to where they're from. That's not my concern. I'm not really worried about them having to get on a plane and Tom Homan taking them away. I'm worried about them election. The election's what we're worried about. The election 11 months from now. That's why we're pushing all the chips in right now.
That we've heard talk about that as well. So these are some of my concerns So thanks for asking.
I think what we need at the federal level is not spending tens of billions of dollars on ICE as they did in their last appropriations bill, but...
Okay, hold it though. This is a perfect example how this stuff is all BS and coordinated, and they hope you're stupid. At least they hope the people watching MSN now are stupid. I want you to hear this one more time, okay? Let me just rewind it like 6 or 7 seconds. Listen to this again.
So thanks for asking.
I think what we need at the federal level is not spending tens of billions of dollars on ICE as they did in their last appropriations bill, but finally do real and meaningful comprehensive immigration reform. That's something.
So that's Shapiro, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, governor of Pennsylvania, who's concerned that we might spend tens of billions of dollars with ICE. Katie Turr, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Katie Turr, is the MSN Now host who doesn't have any idea what the hell to ask him. But I'm going to give you some admission on something. Let me see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Hold on one second. I got to find this. Oh my gosh. Did I move it? One second here. Oh, okay. Here it is. 1 second. I got to bring this up. You notice he said tens of billions on ICE for what ICE is doing. He has a problem with spending tens of billions. Interesting. You know, what I would have asked Josh Shapiro if he had been on this show and said, Josh, well, good point. Were you upset at all with the $450 billion annually? Estimates of the annual cost of illegal immigration to the United States taxpayers vary significantly depending on the source, with major calculations ranging from approximately $150 billion to over $450 billion annually. This numbnuts goes on television and says, well, we spent $10 billion with that. Let's assume his number is correct. We've spent $10 billion on ICE, out there trying to reel in all the newcomers. She looks with her face like that. Yeah. But she didn't ask him that. What about the $450 billion annually that you've been spending? So what you're saying, over a couple of years, it could be close to $1 trillion, but you don't mention that whatsoever. I'm pretty sure my math is this is much more expensive than getting rid of them. But they don't expect you to do your homework. They don't expect anybody in their audience to go look it up. As long as the person asking the question doesn't bring it up, nobody's going to know. In my small corner of the world here, I'm trying to explain things to you. They're lying. And at the same time, if you look it up, it's right there. All the everything that they are spending, 451 billion. Just after the education, the healthcare, the law enforcement. But they don't even add in yet the theft. So it's just 400, 200, 300 billion just to manage this monstrosity of an invasion. And that's before how much they stole. But he wants to complain about 10. I know you're mad again. I know you're okay. Sorry for making you mad on a Saturday.
Thing that has been close in recent years. President Trump threw a monkey wrench into that at the end of the Biden administration. That is what we need. We need to get ICE out of the position they're in Minneapolis to restore trust. And we need policymakers in Washington.
Restore trust to who? Into the newcomers? Because if ICE went away, I would say most Americans would say, you're not doing anything about this? So what we're seeing, as I said earlier, and as you can see on the bottom of my lower third, is they're pushing all their chips in here. This is it. This is the battle. They realize right now there is no November. All the governors in the blue states are now beginning to acquiesce and realize this is their Appomattox. This is their Waterloo. Whatever battle you want to call it, this is where they're going to make their stand. Hopefully it ends up like Custer's. They're aligned. They realize right now they're stuck. And what they have to do to destroy America is make sure ICE goes away because, our neighbors need to be protected. And it's not just him, and it's not just Walz.
In this administration and instead pass comprehensive immigration reform.
And in Virginia, our hard-working, law-abiding immigrant neighbors will know that when we say that we will focus on the security and safety of all of our neighbors,
Neighbors. That's the new catchword at this point. Our neighbors. Not Americans. Not Virginians. Our neighbors. These people, these immigrants. That's who we have to make sure is okay. And all the people with white guilt are...
mean them too.
All right, so that she did the inauguration. That's the new, Spansberger from Virginia, and her first order of business before anything, she runs over to the governor's mansion or whatever, and her first order of business isn't to swear in a cop or no, we got something much more important.
And this executive order rescinds executive order number 47. State and local law enforcement should not be required to divert their limited resources to enforce federal civil immigration laws. It is a responsibility of federal law enforcement. Virginia state and local law enforcement officers must be able to focus on their core responsibilities, investigating crime and community policing.
So her first order of business was to go in and yank Glenn Youngkin's executive order mandating that local police officers had to cooperate with ICE. And so with all the things that she needed to do, the first thing she did, we got to get rid of that. We got to make sure that nobody here in this state is cooperating with ICE. Nope, none of you. It was that important. So what you're seeing, the alignment that you're seeing with Elon and PayPal and Walz and Shapiro and Spansberger and Newsom, they are going all in right now. Right friggin' now, and they're going to do it. They're going to probably just try to bring more in, whatever they can. They do not want the ones that are there to leave. So if you're thinking Barry's been hyperbolic or dramatic by saying we're in a civil war, I hope that anger you feel so far is based upon understanding it's really here. It really is here. It's upon us. And it just depends on how you're going to react.
Are you willing to consider in some cases ICE has gone too far and is losing American support?
Pamela, in the last 5 weeks, we have arrested 2,500 criminal illegal aliens off of the streets of Minneapolis. If I can make my point, I appreciate your having me, but I do want to be able to make my point.
Sure.
The point of the matter is, I have not seen CNN cover who some of those individuals are. An individual from Ecuador who he murdered his 3-month-old son. An individual who is perpetuating...
So Trisha's bringing the receipts right here, and Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown, they don't want to hear this. They don't want Trisha just... Since you won't say it, I'll say it. And she's bringing the receipts.
Human slavery and human trafficking, scores and scores of murders, child pedophiles. Why does the media not talk about that? We continue to see that people love to demonize law enforcement, vilify them as they're facing 1,000% increase in assaults against them. And yet we're not talking about the great work that they're doing on the ground, the fact that they are risking their lives day in and day out to get these criminals off the ground. Gang members, known as suspected terrorists, these are all the people that we've arrested in Minneapolis. And DHS has, and Secretary Noem, President Trump, have done a phenomenal job of trying to give people transparency on who we are arresting. And yet we're standing here talking about relitigating cases over and over and over.
Well, threats that don't have criminal histories, and there are people with final orders who had due process at great taxpayer expense or order removed became fugitives. And yes, we're arresting illegal aliens when we're out there looking for criminals. You want less collateral arrest? Then let us in the damn jail. Frey and Walz could fix this today. Let us into jail so you can arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail rather than forcing us into the street to find these bad guys.
Let us in the jail. I mean, that's a clear order. He could do that today. He could do that right now as we're speaking, and I hope he does.
That's because they don't want them. They don't want them deported. They can't because they lose votes, and right now they are making their final stand here in January. Right now is where they're going to determine how this thing goes. And President Trump, I think, is ready for this fight because he knows, he has to know that everything they do on television, just like what Trisha just said, you never talk about this stuff. You never give people the real information, except the people in Minnesota and in some of these areas, they absolutely know what's going on. And it doesn't get publicized. All it gets publicized is Ilhan Omar and the people doing craziness in the street, but you never get out there and actually talk to the people.
This shit needs to stop, people. It needs to stop. All of us Minnesotans here are fucking fed up. Do you know how many people have to call in sick to work because they can't get to their jobs because you guys are protesting? You won't even let the people that live here. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Peaceful protesting is not blocking cars, including pedestrian cars, from getting to where they need to go.
Also, so as this woman is screaming, understand, is it next week? January 20th or 21st or whatever, is they're holding this thing where they're going to boycott. They're not going to go to work. They're not going to go to school. They're not going to shop. They're not going to go into any restaurants to really show you people they mean business. And they're asking for people around the country to do exactly the same. I'm going to eat.
So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Because I'm kind of fed up. In fact, I'm really fed up. I just want to find a job so that I can start giving back to my community. That's what I want to do. I don't know what else to say. Y'all need to fucking give it a rest. Or at least be respectful. Like, people are scared to leave their houses because of how crazy you're acting. You don't even bother to ask if we're on your side or not. You just attack. So if there are any ICE agents watching this, God bless you, and thank you very much for your service.
That's what we need to focus on. I know she had a couple F-bombs in there, but she's pissed. I can't imagine if I lived in that area of Minneapolis and I'm just driving along and I can't go to where I want to get to. There's people blocking the street. So imagine wherever we are right now. I'm in Florida and we're seeing this stuff on television. Can you imagine living there? Can you imagine just being in all of that mess, that complete nastiness, and not being able to live your life and you got nothing to do with it? They're not letting you pass. Nope, you can't go. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm not ICE. I live here. I don't care. See, it's a good thing they're not in Florida, because if they were in Florida, they'd be hood ornaments. The problem with everything you see in Minnesota and even in California, they've allowed these people to become poison. They've allowed these people to become toxic. They've allowed these people to interfere with good people, and good people, for the most part, have stayed good. There is going to be a time very soon where good people stop being good. It's just a matter of time before people are completely fed up. Right now, they think they're fighting the ire of the ICE agents and law enforcement and Trump. It's going to get really heated when a certain point happens, when people like that woman and the good people around her, I've had it. Most of us have already had it. We're not even in Minnesota. I've had it, and I'm in South Florida, and everything's fine. You know how fine it is in South Florida? You know, Robin always yelled at me, and she's like, don't wait for the last minute to book a table for Valentine's Day. I'm one of those guys. On February 13th, I start trying to find someplace to go to dinner, and I may have to like drive over to a restaurant and do some palm stuffing to a guy so we can get a table. And I said, for the first time in my 32 years of marriage with Robin, I'm going to call a month in advance so I can tell her when she gets home tomorrow, guess what, honey? I already have Valentine's Day booked. I called 14 restaurants. I'm like, wait a second. It's January 17th. You're telling me a month before Valentine's Day, you guys are all booked up. No, we don't even have a seat till like 9:30 at night. I'm not eating dinner at 9:30 at night. No, you ain't eating here then. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. This economy, at least down here, is absolutely blowing up. You can't get a seat in a restaurant 30 days in advance. So I had to go to one of our favorite restaurants and do what I normally had to do before. It was no different. Hey, man, here's a little something. Can you give me a table? Yeah, okay, great. Imagine that. Every single day on the news, even twice a day, 3 times a day, they're telling us how bad the economy is, how bad things are, how much things suck. I drove down to the house we purchased, and I drove past the gas tank, and I could not even imagine when I looked and saw that gas was $2.75 in Boca. And I'm thinking, this is insane. What do you mean? Gas prices are down. People were out. Restaurants are packed. People are doing things. Flights. I got to pick up Robin tomorrow morning at the airport. Everything's going well. The only thing that's not is their sycophantic hypnotism to try and tell people what you're seeing isn't real. What you're seeing is people are terrified of Trump. They're all pissed off. And I'm thinking most people don't even pay attention to what you guys show. And then if you take an aerial shot, which you never see, if they pull back and you see there's 50 knuckleheads in the street. When Trump said yesterday, well, we don't have to do an insurrection because it's like them same people. Have you seen an aerial of the Minneapolis area? If you see the aerial, you'll say why insurrection. There's like 50 people. They're probably the same 50 people. Don't let people gaslight you. Understand, I can't speak for every neighborhood in the country and say things are good or not good, but I'm trying to talk to people in different areas and different economic, what would normally be bad economic areas. Like, what's it like there? Can you get a job? Can you help out? Can you do things? And I want to take a second because something happened last night, or actually early this morning. Let me see if I can pull this up or not. Did X go down again? Well, looks like. All right, I want to show you guys something because I get these kind of this information from people, and it really, really makes me feel a certain way. Hold on, let me show this to you. All right. I don't know his name because he didn't use his name on X, but I want to show you something, and I loved that he said this. He said, Barry, thank you for everything you do for the community, even if some of us, the trolls, would only listen to half of what you promote and share to help people. I started watching early in Trump's campaign, and then my wife, Carol, joined in and became a regular viewer. I know you might not see yourself this way, but you have made an incredible history teacher. Everyone here at Fanfare truly appreciate your insight and the way you break things down, yada, yada, yada. And I just want to go down here because I definitely missed the boat when silver was trading around 12. No regrets, but wow, what a run it's had since then. These days, I have so many exciting directions I'm exploring with AI. We talked about that last night. And I'd love to see Carol embrace it more for her future too. To all the AI skeptics and haters out there, I hope you give it a chance and change your minds. It's opening up incredible possibilities. Thank you so much to SV and Ashley and the mods for your incredible dedication. And he shows this is his retirement account. Up 72%, up 72% in 3 months. Don't let other people tell you what you can't do. Go for it, man, because these people, they're trying to take everything we know away from us. They're trying to make us feel like, we're crazy when we're not the crazy ones. We are on solid ground. We know exactly what we're going to be doing. We understand that God is here to help us. We understand that President Trump is here to provide us with opportunities. I don't need anything from the government. I just need the government to get out of my way. And I hope the government gets out of your way and that you can free your mind to try some things and realize it's there for the taking. And I just want to thank Yuck Fu for that post. It made my morning this morning because I hear so many negative things, and I got emails, and I'm like, wow, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. I just wanted to say that before I closed. Let's see here. What? Gas is $2.13 here in Amarillo. Can I get there by morning? Some of you guys will know what I'm talking about. I love chocolate-covered strawberries. I really hate these anti-American Democrats. I'm shaking with anger the way that sand rat desecrated my country. Yeah, use that anger. Use that anger. Let people know what she said. Barry, can you do a stock show? Not advice. There's things that I feel comfortable that I have some expertise in, and then there's things that I don't. I'll see if Ashley can bring on the guy from the Pelosi tracker again. He knows a lot more about it than I. Wow, you picked up that quick, Jeffrey. George Strait, Amarillo by Morning. Yep, that was the song. Y'all know I love me some country. Yeah, so that was when I said, can I get there by morning? And he knew exactly what I'm talking about. The King. Yep, another one. Great. George Strait. Wow, I can't get the stuff by you guys. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Isn't that a George Strait song? Yep, Amarillo by Morning. Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody, I'm going to go watch, I'm not even going to look now because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go watch the Buffalo Bills game, and then probably I think the Bills was the early game, and then I forget who's playing the late game. So don't say anything. Don't tell me who won or who's ahead. I'll look it up. And then I figured, I'm like, am I gonna sleep tonight? Because Robin gets in at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, ugh. And so we'll see. I may watch the game, or I'm still catching up with another rendition of Person of Interest. All right, so excuse me, Pekoski brother, thank you very much. Ryzen Phoenix, it's funny that ICE was created by the Democrats as a part of Homeland Security, and now they're angry because it's being used to help the country become great again. Pekoski, simple. President does construction, Democrats do destruction. I like how you said that. Chiosop, even Mike Johnson said that Cadaver didn't know about some executive orders that were signed, and the Cadaver said he never authorized it. He's referring to Biden and the auto pen, for sure. Chiosop, the EU sent soldiers to do our military's laundry. Can you imagine soldiers that are coming over from France or whatever, and they think they're going to be stopping Trump from taking Denmark? Tim Martin, Barry, my fourth grandchild, was born today. Oh my goodness. Absolutely fantastic. God bless hope, mother and child. I think it's a mother. It's a woman, right? I mean, it wasn't like her husband gave birth or anything. So I hope the mom and child are both okay. Leaders, Poland as well as Italy are on our side. Maloney, absolutely. Chiosop, they can sell Greenland or we can take it. One way or the other, it's coming. And I can't believe there's so many rhinos that are fighting against it as well. Tampon Tim prepared to National Guard. I seen like how many cops are leaving the force to join ICE too. Chiosop, everything that guy just said is BS, cousin Vinny. Stephen Anderson, Russia and China have been quietly building icebreakers to move into the Arctic Passageway, new and last shipping lanes. Be smart. Chiosop again. Tampon Tim suffers from hoof and mouth disease. Oh, yeah. Trent Plow, thank you. Chiosop, Tampon Tim, and Jacob Frey went on Icepedia to see what their room looks like at Gitmo. Ilhan Omar booked her deportation flight through Icepedia too. I haven't wished ill on many people, but she's one I would love to see have to go away for a long time. Yes, Bielka, Tim's speech is pure slander. Or worse. Arheath. Hey, Arheath, well, I've got you here. If you're still here, let's check in with the ladies from Chicago Flips Red. So if you can get a hold of Ashley, I'd love to have those two ladies back on again. See where they are this year and what's going on. Nick Sorter got the plate and faces on his video. Okay, very good. Sabida Jack. Barry, we've enjoyed your fanfare channel from the start. You have the courage to say what most outlets won't, with the clarity to make it understandable. Thanks for the thought-provoking insights that cut through the noise. Thank you very much. I try to construct a show so that I can provide not just opinion, but stuff that you guys can go look at yourself. Many people, I haven't even heard anybody talking about the 2 grand juries down here. I just find it odd that not one, but 2 grand juries were impaneled on January 12th and nobody's talking about it. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, did you know about it? Tania, Mr. Tampon is talking like they're protesting in Iran, for sure. Bielka, chief of police changed tone because of indictment. Yep, you saw him the other day, just had his head down, Myrna, thank you very much. Awesome truth coverage, Barry and Supermods. Thank you very much. Kevin Bowman, thank you. Chiosop hasn't slept with her brother in weeks. Sometimes I don't see these things in advance, and I'm like, oh my God, did he just say that? Yeah, he said that. Trying to pull, keep up the great work, Barry and Mods. Thank you. AI is awesome, indeed. I'm going to try something, if I can do it next week. It might surprise you. I'll want to get your opinion on a couple things. Buddy Sanders, $30 million. That's what she has, supposedly. Jazz, thank you. Eric Grant, for movie night, can we watch American Carol? I'll have to look that up. I don't know what that is. I'll check it out. I was thinking about The Siege next. It seems appropriate. Chiosop, I've spoken to many liberals and they actually believe the BS they are fed by the Democrat politicians. They do. I've had family members. Mountain Goddess, the progressives use repetitive language from historical events of evil regimes and atrocities from the past and correlate it to American law enforcement in the current U.S. administration. Because if they were honest, there would be no Democrat Party. Cornersburg Pizza, thank you for your coverage. May you and your family be blessed. And same to you. Thank you. Stephen Anderson, trust our savior, DJT. I won't say he's my savior, but I trust him. And Elon Rocket Man to go through. Absolutely. Where'd I go? Okay. Barry, please don't give your wife's itinerary online. I'm not. I didn't say anything. I didn't say, I gave like a time, but that's about it. You don't know which airport? Huh? I don't know. Which airline? Nope. But thank you. Stephen Anderson, world's richest man alive, is back in DJT. Yeah, Elon. Barry, Neo, hello. Barry, thank you for always news and events so crazy. It's awesome to know Trump is winning every day. God bless America. Pray for this evil to end. Kevin Bowman, thank you. Mary Kellums. Yep, 35 soldiers in Greenland. 35 whole soldiers. And 2 dog sleds. And Steve Anderson, Grok, John 14, verse 27, peace I gave you with, may I give. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Yep, absolutely. All right, so I'm not sure if I'll see you tomorrow because my baby's coming home. So I don't know, she'll probably sleep all day, and then we'll figure out that. I hope she doesn't have jet lag from coming from Las Vegas. But her sister's doing better, and that's a good thing. And I made it through 4 or 5 days with these 2 crazy animals. I wish I had a camera so you could see Midas. He's sitting there like this looking up at me. Yeah, they've been good. They've been really good. I'm surprised. All day long, take them outside. Anyway, just meandering about my 2 dogs. I can't wait to have my honey back. Talk to you guys maybe tomorrow.